Good evening. Sunday night special of Last Bell Boxing. Seems quite apt after last night's performance of the judges, but I'm sure we're going to get into that in some more detail. Joined as regular. And how you going, Andy? I know you feeling a bit under the weather, but that boxing wouldn't have made you feel any better last night, would it?
I stayed up for it as well, mate. I feel like shit. I've had a fucking cold. I feel like crap, but I stayed up all night to make sure.
Yeah, you're getting too old for them shenanigans now.
Oh, I know I am, mate. But I know I am. But Sandy Ryan, I knew Sandy Ryan was going to win that fight. I knew she was going to win it comfortably, and then that happened. So I'm a little bit pissed today, mate. If I'm being honest.
And on that cheery note, we've got Daz as well. How you going, Daz?
Well, mate. All right.
So let's get into the Joyce fight first, shall we? So, Andy, do you want to give us your thoughts on the Joyce fight before we go across to the other side of the pond?
I was a little bit shocked at how much Joyce weighed to start with, because he'd gone the opposite way. Do you know what I mean? By I don't know how much, quite a bit.
And boy, did he look heavy, didn't he?
He looked heavy. But for the first couple of rounds, Carl, he was moving all right. You know, his footwork was a little bit better. He was clearly trying to stay away from that left hand, which is why he was moving around. He's moving around to the right, to
the left.
Zhang's right, moving around to his left, to Zhang's right, stay away. And that was okay. That work was working okay. And he was doing all right until he got clipped. And as soon as he got clipped, he didn't know to do anything else other than to stand and trade. And as soon as he stood and traded, that was the end of the fight. Because when Zhang hit him, Zhang was hitting him with jabs, and it was stunning him quite clearly. And I've always said, Carl, I mean, we've argued for a couple of years about Joe Joyce on this show. You've always said, look, I think he's better than you're giving him credit for. I've always said he doesn't have it. He's too robotic, and in the last year or so, I've kind of backtracked a bit and said, right, well, okay, maybe he's not the best technical boxer in the world. He hasn't got all the flair and all the movement, all the skill. What he has got is probably the best engine in heavyweight boxing, the best chin in heavyweight boxing. Well, and let's have it right, he's relied on those two things.
Yes, yeah.
So as soon as they've given away the chin, anyway, that's it. He's done. He has nothing. Where does he go, Carl? Because you can't get knocked out in the third round of a rematch where it's life or death. You have to win that fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll bring Daz in a minute. My thoughts were he almost ran out of ideas, and he got hurt quite badly late in the second, didn't he? You know, he got hurt quite badly going back to his corner. I think the third round was just, I'm just going to throw everything at you and hope it's enough. And if it's not, I'm going to go out on my shield. That's exactly what he done. But he's been to the well too many times. His punch resistance is not what it was. And that was his main attribute. So he's got a problem to solve. I'll bring Daz in. What did you think, Daz?
Before I comment on it, I just want to, like, if anyone's watching and they think that I'm a Joyce hater, I want them to know I'm not. I've been a big fan of Joe's as a fighter, and as a person, he seems like a really, really nice guy. And I think I've said before on this show, if I want anyone to succeed and be a world champion, it's Joe Joyce, because he seems like a really nice fella. Yeah. But yesterday, it was sad to watch that. He looked absolutely shot to pieces. And I don't agree with what Andy said about the movement. I think he just looked terrible. It looked to me like he was trying to do something that's not in his nature to do. He looked a bit clumsy. There was no power in his shots. Every shot was an arm shot. There was no power in his shots whatsoever. Now, I think personally, he's got if he's going to carry on, which I've heard he is, he's got to have a serious look at the team he's got around him. A serious look. Because why on earth do you put 25 pound in weight on, knowing you're against a big unit of a man, and then decide to do what he should have done in the first fight when he was lighter? He should have been moving in the first fight when he was lighter. But he weren't. He
The other
stood.
thing, Gaz, that was alarming. The other thing that was alarming was he didn't look like he wanted to engage.
No, the
Those
thing is,
arm
mate,
shots, not those, not putting anything into those shots is because he didn't want to engage.
no, but the thing
He
is,
was
when he
scared
was
of what was coming
lighter,
back. So that makes me wonder, has he been knocked out in sparring? Has he been
When he
hurt in
was-
sparring?
I don't know, mate, but when he was lighter, he had he tried to have a fight when he was lighter, right?
I mean, I think the truth is when he came in light in the first fight, he wasn't good enough to carry the game plan off Darren, was that?
Well, he did it totally wrong. He came in lighter against his
And then tried
heaviest,
to trade.
his heaviest and biggest opponent, and then tried to trade. So when he's come in last night, 25 pounds heavier, I fully expected Joe to think, right, what I do best is I get up close and I'm just going to wear you down. You know, that's the only way he could win. Listen, if he'd have got on Zhang's chest, it takes that long left hand away. You know, listen, I'm not saying the result would have been different, not for 1 minute, but it gives himself a chance. Why else are you coming in 25 pound heavier?
Yeah.
Who comes in 25 pound heavier to then try and be a fancy damn boxer on outside? Listen,
it's just whether he's good enough, though, Daz, isn't it? You can have all the game plans in the world, but if you're not good enough, you're just not good enough.
Mate, it don't matter whether he's good enough or not. That game plan, right? Who devised that game plan needs getting the P45 and out the door.
The book stops with Salas, right?
No, mate, listen. This is my point. All these TV trainers, mate. All these trainers who, they're this, they're that, they're this, they're that. Listen, they earn the stripes and then they stop learning. They think, they start to complicate things. How on earth, mate, has Salas put 25 pound in weight on and then box on outside? Because I don't care what anybody says. I know for a fact that game plan will have been implemented in sparring, right?
Yeah.
And Joe Joyce will have looked that bad in sparring doing it. He'll have looked unorganized. He'll have had nothing in his punches. Listen, you've got a fight of that magnitude. His career's on line, right? Yeah. So as a trainer there, I'd have been if that was the listen, I'll be honest, and I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I'm saying if our game plan for Joe Joyce was to put that weight on, Joe Joyce would have been had his chin on Zhang's chest and he'd have been battering away. There'd have been none of this dancing around, because as Salas not had that sparring and then asked for the sparring partner's feedback and said, "What? How did he feel? Was he powerful? Was he?" But even without that feedback, Salas would have been able to see that Joyce isn't that type of fighter.
And also, Daz, you ain't dragging Zhang late, are you? When you're carrying that sort of weight, you ain't dragging him late because you won't have the stamina under the lights.
Listen, you put that weight on like Joe did, and the game plan can only be you've got to have a war of attrition.
Yeah.
You've got to see who breaks first.
But Frank Warren was saying that his understanding was the game plan was to drag Zhang late last night. Well, it doesn't add up.
If that was the game plan, right? If that was the game plan, and that's why they put the weight on, when Joe came out the first round on back foot, as soon as he's gone back to the corner, Salah should have been saying, listen, straight on him. Don't be moving off him. Don't give him space. Don't listen. Zhang had all the time in the world last night. Yeah. Don't give him space. Don't give him time. You know what we've worked on. Do it. But they weren't. I think that was the plan. Do you know what I mean? I think that was the plan from Salas. And listen, it's another case of these TV trainers. For me, it's just. Do they even study what they need to study to implement a plan?
No, I mean, the only fight that's really out there for Joyce now is a Dubois one, isn't it? If he wants to bunt.
Mate, I don't want to see him fight again on that after that.
You will, though, won't you? He
says he's going to.
He's in danger of doing something really bad to his health, mate.
Mate, I didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't enjoy seeing that fight. Not at all. Even from first bell. I watched it when I got in, and from first bell, mate, I thought He's either got a massive crisis of confidence, or he's shot to pieces. And straight away, my first initial thought were, why is he boxing on outside? And throwing nothing in it. First 20 seconds, why is he throwing nothing in his shots? His jab. I mean, he used to have a ramrod jab. His jab was non-existent. It were like there were nothing in his shots because it were like he were, you know. To be fair, mate, I tell you what I think's happened. I think Salas and co have tried to have him boxing on outside, and that's not Joe. And he's stuck in two minds. So he's thinking about punching and moving at the same time.
Yeah, he looked lost in that ring last night, didn't he?
Yeah,
he looked lost.
He's thinking about punching and moving at the same time, which Andy's heard, you know. Well, Andy spent time with me and you have, but Andy's obviously spent time with me when I'm coaching some fighters, and you've got to, your feet have got to be set. It doesn't mean you have to stay in one place, but to get power, you've got to be set.
Yeah.
And he were moving and punching. There were nothing to discourage Zhang whatsoever.
I think Warren will feed Joyce to Dubois. That's my prediction. He'll feed him to him.
Yeah,
I don't understand what Joyce brings to the table anymore. I don't even understand how.
Still a big fight.
The thing is, though, is it though, Cole? Because the aura around Joyce has always been, is shots bounce off him. He's durable. He'll take fighters late. That's not the case anymore. So what does he actually bring to the table to make a fight?
It'll still sell out an O2, that one would.
Yeah. Do you know what? It'll probably happen as well because they're both coming off losses. And it's a case of, well, let's see who progresses. But
and one would do the old crossroad fight scenario.
Yeah. I mean, he'll probably dig up some belt from Argos and put it for that. But yeah,
Warren's always been in the Dubois camp more than the Joyce camp anyway. So
well,
I think you're right.
Make it happen then. That's all the more reason
the
why.
The idea of feeding Dubois to Joyce is probably right. I just I'm staggered that no one has gone into, no one's gone to Joyce and gone, you need to rethink that, mate. Somebody needs to. Well, but his management, mate, they need to earn the money there, and they need to say, time's up, mate.
But that's like a turkey voting for Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not going to happen, is it?
It's like a turkey voting.
It shouldn't be about losing a cash cow, though, Carl. It should be about protecting.
I'm not in Andy's little fairy world. Let's talk realistically. They're in it for a pound note. Let's be honest. So if they can get a big fight with Dubois, they're going to do it. It's a business at the end of the day. Let's be honest.
Well, that's dangerous then, isn't it?
Well, I think he needs to find a trainer who's going to train him properly, accordingly, to be fair, to his strengths. Not try and turn him into something he's not.
Well, if Jamie Moore went with Dave Allen, surely Jamie Moore would link up with Joe Joyce, wouldn't he? Just throwing one name out there.
Yeah, shouldn't see why not. I would. Come on, Joe. Come to Riley's, mate.
Get down Sheffield or up Sheffield.
Yeah. Come to Riley's, mate. I won't try and turn you into a fancy Dan.
So I think we've done Joyce here. So Andy, I know you're excited about this one, so I'll let you take the Sandy Ryan fight away.
I'm in danger of getting our channel. I'm going to be in danger of getting our channel kicked off every single fucking network, but I don't care because there's one or two things here, Cole. Either it's incompetence or it's corruption. I'd
like to think it's the first one.
Well, I don't think it is. So there you go. This is my opinion, by the way, not last spells. This is my opinion. I don't think it is. Someone's got in that judge's ear and the one that scored it a draw, and they paid him off. Because that wasn't even a close fight, Cole. It wasn't even a close fight, mate.
No.
It's disgraceful. But the book's got to lie partly at Matchroom and at DAZN because it's their show. Do something about it, boys. Disgraceful.
What can they do about it?
Say show, mate. Make sure that judge never works again.
What can they do about the commission? What can they do? They can put an appeal in, but they can't.
You can make sure that judge never works on one of their shows again, Carl. That's what they can do.
They haven't got that power, and they haven't got that power. They can't start dictating to commissions.
Oh, come on!
No, they
come
can't.
on! The promoters have got all the money, Carl. Of course they can.
They can't start dictating to the commission about who's judging fights or refereeing fights. Or it'll be a nonsense, won't it? They'd all start dictating who's going to be the referee.
So who's going to stop it then, Carl? Who's going to stop it? Do we just carry
I
on the way
the answer. I haven't got the answer, but I haven't got the answer. But I'm telling you what, it won't be the promoters. I can tell you that much.
Something needs to happen,
maybe the WBAs and people like that who sanction the fight. I don't know. But it won't be the promoters.
Florida Commission sanctioned the fight. They need to do something about it because it's a disgrace.
It is. I agree.
It's one. We don't get me wrong, mate. You see bad judging across the world. You see it in the UK, but nothing like that. Sandy Ryan schooled McCaskill last night, and McCaskill knows it as well.
What did the board do about it?
Face
what did the board do about it when we have a stinker over here? So what says Florida to do anything?
But that's not the answer. Just because the British board don't do it, Florida shouldn't. Someone's got to.
Who's going to do it?
Someone's got to step up.
Who?
Then they need an independent body, then, don't they? They need an independent body to sanction all these situations because you can't carry on in boxing the way it is. Because all that's going to happen, Carl, is boxing is going to die. Because
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you regarding the state of it, but all I'm saying is you haven't got the mechanism for someone to enforce it. That's the truth of it.
Well, something needs to change. Boxing is going to die. We complain that world champions don't want to put the belts on the line against other world champions. Why would they? When they see things like that happen, why would they do it? You even heard it in commentary of Sonny Edwards. I'm thinking twice about coming over here and defending my title. If that's what I'm going to get.
It can happen anywhere, though.
So why would champions put the belts on the line against champions? Just carry on fighting bums that you know you're going to beat.
Well, that's why they normally do, don't they? That's why the best don't fight the best.
The sport's a disgrace. The sport is a disgrace. I was ashamed to be a boxing fan last night.
There needs to be a neutral governing body into this sport who's got the power to do something about it, no matter where it is, under what commission or board. They can hold them to account. Because at the minute, it's like Turkey's voting for Christmas. The British Boxing Board of Control do their own assessments of the referees.
That judge last night's got a back pocket full of money, and he's riding off into the sunset. He's riding off into the sunset, and he's going to go on to his next show and do the same thing again with another back pocket full of money. Disgrace. That being said, Sandy Ryan was absolutely outstanding. Best performance of her career. She's gone away from home. She's put it all on the line against a very, very good champion who's only lost to two of the very best in this era. In Chantel Cameron and Katie Taylor. And she made her look average, mate. She was beating her to shots. Those body shots she was sinking were outstanding. She was just brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Didn't take a back step. Boxed her ears off at times. Making McCaskill miss. Making her fall short. Yeah, just outstanding, mate. I can't say enough about Ryan last night. I can't. She was just brilliant. And for that to happen to her after a performance like that makes me feel sick, mate.
It's not the first time, it won't be the last time, unfortunately.
Don't make it right, though, does it?
No, I'm not saying it is.
And the other thing is, McCaskill wasn't even arguing the case. She knew she'd lost that fight. That's why she offered the rematch straight away. But I tell you what, it wouldn't surprise me if they don't take that rematch because they know what's coming.
Yeah. There's not like say there's no answers. We've been here before, time and time and time. before. Time and time again, we're in this position.
I mean, right, we've had it before in fights where we've gone, I don't agree with that score. Such and such should have won, but it's been within a couple of rounds. Oh, you can argue a couple of rounds either way when there's been close rounds. They weren't close rounds, mate. They weren't close rounds.
I told you I gave McCaskill 3 rounds, and that was 3 rounds.
I've not heard a single person anywhere on any social media that I've seen. I've not seen anything anywhere where anyone has given McCaskill more than 3 rounds. So has that judge given it 8-2 to McCaskill the other way? Or 7-3 or whatever he gave.
I mean, the thing is,
the one that scored a draw.
She's got the most powerful promoter in the world, and even he's not talking about what he's going to do, this, that, and the other, because he knows there's nothing he can do. I mean, he went mad at the judge and all that, but
let's just hide behind the commission then. Let's just hide behind the commission. Let's not worry about it. Let's carry on the way boxing is and watch it die within 10 years, because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, this has happened since Jesus was a lad, hasn't it? No one else has tackled it. So what makes you think is going to happen now?
We're in crisis point in boxing now, Carl, though. We're in crisis point in boxing now because everyone's turning to MMA. The fans that used to watch boxing watch MMA now. They don't watch boxing no more. America's boxing's like the 5th or 6th most watched sport. It's not even in the top fucking 2 anymore. It's a disgrace. This is why Americans don't watch it, because stuff like this goes on.
This has been happening
for years.
Before we were born in boxing. Bad decisions. I mean, bad decision.
Of course it has. And the thing is, Gaz, it's sort of boxing's always had a bit of a dark side. Everyone knows that. Anyone in boxing knows that.
Yeah.
But at some point, you've got to say enough's enough.
Every combat sport has. UFC's not as clean as what people think it is.
Of course, no, I get it. I understand that, right?
You know,
but just because it's always happened, don't make it right.
No, of course it don't. But it's gonna. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's corruption. What happened? I think it's incompetence. I think they were swayed by she were, home country girl. She was swinging and missing, and Sandy made a miss. Sandy outclassed her. Sandy beat her in every department. It's just a case. It's inept. It's incompetent. It's inept. But the commissions are where it lies. I mean, when you get you're in a world title fight and you can find out who the judges and the referee is. You can question it beforehand. You can actually put something in beforehand. I mean, I know it's happened a few times. I think with Joe Cortez, especially after the Atten Mayweather fight. I think people who work inside thought, well, I don't want Cortez refereeing. He's not going to give me a fair shake. So you can question it beforehand. Who's the other one? Who's the female judge who did she give Mayweather Canelo a draw? I can't remember her name. But she scored 2 fights that were crazy. I think commissions basically all they can do is they can get the judge in. I think they watch the fight together and ask for an explanation how you've scored that round.
Behind closed doors, though, right, Daz?
Yeah, it always is, mate. Yeah, always is. But that's how they do it. That's how the board do it as well, I think.
Yeah.
We've had. I mean, listen. I don't know if we can discuss this a little bit today, but there was a program on the other day about British
Channel 4.
Yeah, and you know what, mate? It's reverberated as well. It's gone further than that. This actually involves this argument for racism. Actually involves one of mine, Garrett, and Rob Riley's fighters now. So if we can, I'd like to chat about it. It's disgusting, mate. But like Ian John Lewis, going back to that point, the guy was. I mean, listen, his scorecard for Taylor Catterall were baffling, but then there was also Victor Laughlin's card, which was baffling. Ian John Lewis he says, the only one who was took in front of or reprimanded by the board, sort of thing. And that's how listen, they should be made to explain why if you watch a fight right on night and you get, this is by no means justifying anything, but they're from a different angle than we are on telly. Right, so someone who could throw a punch, it could miss be 3 foot that we see on telly, or another judge sees, but another judge think it might land. And so you've got your perspectives of watching a fight, so you might see things a bit different. But to me, that's why referees should then be brought in front of a commission, a board, an independent commission, with their scorecard in front of them, the scorecard in front of someone independent, scorecard in front of a board. Listen, let's even have both fighters' managers there, and listen, if a judge then says, listen, I obviously scored, it was a tight round, but 30 seconds, I thought they landed 3 shots and it swayed me towards them winning round. But then they see on telly that they've missed them 3 shots. Then if they hold their hands up and say, listen, from my angle, that looked like they landed where I were, punches were thrown, it obviously a dodge, but spray come off at head, and I thought it landed, it's my mistake. Then, you can sort of look and think, yeah, I get you. And if it keeps happening, then you have to look at, rescinding a license or downgrading referees, downgrading judges, sort of thing. But there's none of that really at minute. They just seem to be making these absolutely crazy decisions, and there's no consequences for it. You know what I mean? If you're accountable, I was just saying, Carl, I don't know if you heard, but like on the perspective bit, if you're in front of a board and both fighters, managers, and or trainers even, and somewhat an independent, and it's like if they say, well, why did you score this round 10-9 to so and so, and they scored it 10-9 to, well, from my point, they can say, well, it were a close round, and then last bit at round, so and so threw 3 or 4 shots. They obviously moved the red, it spray come off a bit, looked like they landed, so I thought that nicked the round. Now, then they say, right, now I'm watching it on telly, face on, I can see them punches didn't land, so it's my, my mistake, but I could only see what I saw from ringside in heat at moment. So if that keeps happening, so if you keep getting same judging all the time and referee making mistakes, then that's when you look at, to me, downgrading. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But listen, that's in an ideal world. That's in an ideal boxing world. Whether that happens or not is a different matter. But it does need to it does need to be addressed for me.
I understand interpretation, Daz. I understand that looking at a live show, a live fight from 3 different angles in a ring can give you a different opinion of certain shots. But when the scorecard is as wide as that in the wrong direction, when everybody else, every man and his dog, everyone in the arena, they all saw it the opposite way. They all saw it 8-2 or 7-3 to Ryan. And that one judge has scored it 8-2 or 7-3 to McCaskill. That's not interpretation, Daz.
Do you know what, mate?
That's not thinking one or two shots in a round and landing when they're not. That's consistently getting it wrong every round.
But we'll never know.
No.
We'll never know, because the judge that scored it that way, we don't know his seating position. You know, listen, this is by no means agreeing with it, because Sandy absolutely pissed that fight, right? But we were watching it face on, right? Now, McCaskill threw a lot of punches that missed. Do you know what I mean? So if he had a view of where his McCaskill's back were to him and throwing, and he's thinking they landed, then he's come up with that. They favor aggression, don't they? But even so, right? I was as baffled, mate, by the scorecard for Sandy that it was that close. I was like,
yeah, didn't that scorecard have a winning it by 2 rounds?
Yeah, 96-94. I was like, even that one, I was like, what?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I know.
Then,
Well, it was like in the Ben fight does. In the Ben fight, 99-91, 99-91, 96-94.
Yeah, I didn't watch that, mate. I skipped that one. Didn't bother with that one.
So it just never stops.
Mate, there's something wrong, right? And this is going on to the Ben fight, when they took Chris Algieri off a commentary. You know, where's the integrity gone?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where's integrity gone? Listen, he's a commentator. He commentates on everything.
And I'm sure he would have remained professional, because I quite like Chris Algieri as a commentator. I think he does quite a good job.
So Conor Ben fights on it, and he gets took off commentary. Yeah,
it's not good.
Right, good luck that.
Well, seeing as though you brought it up, Carl, seeing as though you brought it up, let's talk about the Conor Ben fight. What did you think of his performance in general?
He didn't pull up no trees for me, to be honest with you. I know, but it's against a backdrop of having 18 months out of a ring. Yeah. So I don't know, is my honest answer. But it was durable. His opponent wanted, I think he could have got him out there when he wanted, if I'm honest, but he wanted the rounds in the bank.
Well, could he though, Carl? Because he was landing clean.
That's what I suspect.
Yeah, the operative word there is clean.
Yeah,
he was landing shots clean.
He went into a fight clean, and where's the devastating?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, how he was blowing people out the ring, wasn't it? So yeah.
You've also got the added thing that was a super welter, not welter. Is there an argument that, obviously playing devil's advocate here, is there an argument that Ben just doesn't carry any power moving up?
Well, let's hope so, because let's hope he does, because obviously the Eubank fight is being moved for December the 2nd or 23rd.
Or does he just not carry any power with no juice in him?
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah.
There's a lot to think about with that.
Where is he on that trajectory now, Andy? Do you remember that?
Look. At the end of the day, mate, I didn't have a crystal ball in front of me, did I? I didn't know what was going to go on 6 months or a year down the line.
I suggest he's not on the trajectory now, though.
I'll be completely straight and just give my opinion of the fight, and not everything else surrounding it, but just give my opinion of the fight. I thought he looked very good for the first 4 rounds. I thought he looked very sharp. I thought his movement was really good. I thought his shot selection was really good. There's no taking away from it. Ben can fight.
Yeah.
But after 4 or 5 rounds, I thought he got disheartened because he was landing clean shots that you've just pointed out that were knocking people out in welterweight fights of not long ago. and he was landing clean on this kid. Now, to be fair, this bloke's never been knocked out by anybody at super welterweight.
He hasn't been in with anyone, has he?
He's been in with some big punches, mate. He's been in with some big punches.
I thought he did the right PR job on him, talking about.
And he'd also got a decent knockout record. So, all that being said, did Ben take the foot off the gas in the second half of the fight, knowing he couldn't knock the guy out? Or
did he want rounds?
Did he want rounds, or was it just a case of he just hasn't got power at that weight? And then there's obviously the other narrative that maybe he hasn't got inside him what he had inside him before. He's had lots of drug tests leading up to this fight. That was one of the stipulations from the Florida board, and everything's come back clean. So, if there was anything in his system before, and that gave him an extra 5% at welterweight, that could have been the difference. But if there was nothing in his system and he was, he can punch at welterweight. But fighters do this, don't they? They can punch at one weight. They're great. They're knocking out people. They move up a weight and they've got nothing. He looked very small in there, didn't he? Compared to the size of his opponent. Very small. I mean, they need to be looking at it and going, you can't fight at super welterweight, mate. Certainly not at any level. Get yourself back down to welterweight and contest your fights there.
So Lee Brown's jumped in and said, "Good evening, Lee. He's put his time to move on with Ben now. Isn't like people did with Fury and Canelo, etc."
I said this last week or the week before. We've got no control over the situation. It's either you accept facts, because what Daz said last week is right. He's going to start fighting back in the UK. That fight.
The trouble is, though, sorry jumping, but the difference for me between them scenarios, that's Fury, Canelo, etc., and this one, is we've still got a cloud. We've still got a cloud, haven't we? So the British Boxing Board of Control, Eddie Hearn saying one thing that is cleared, blah, blah, blah. The board is saying they're going to appeal and all this. So there's still that uncertainty there. Can he fight in the UK or can't he? No one truly knows.
Well, at the minute, no, because he hasn't got a license. So that answers the fact. He hasn't got a British license.
So then it's not like the other scenarios, then, is it, where they took a ban and they come back after the ban? So there's still that, it's still hanging over him, isn't it?
Yeah, for the time being. But maybe what Daz was saying last week is right, and money talks and everything will go away and he'll be back to fighting again. I
agree what Lee's was just put. The board needs to put up or shut up, in my opinion. I agree, Lee, because, like I said, we need some closure to this. One way or the other, people are not going to like it, whatever, but we just need some closure.
I mean, even the commentary team at one point nearly said, someone on the commentary team at one point nearly said he was knocking people out for fun, and then one of the other commentators stopped him from saying what he was going to say next. And they moved on very quickly. So people are still thinking it in the back of their minds. Whether they believe it or not, there's always going to be that niggling doubt until a line's drawn in the sand, and then we go, right, away you go. And then it's up to the public then, Carl.
I don't think Eddie Hearn's covered himself in glory here, if I'm honest with you.
No one has.
I agree with Lee again. I don't like agreeing with him too much, but Lee's put, for the record, I don't think you should fight until you have proved you're innocent. But it is what it is. I tend to agree. I think he should get in front of that British Boxing Board of Control and let's get some closure to it. Joe, good evening, Joe. So Joe said you can't move on with Ben till he goes up and faces UCAD and the board. He's like his old fellow, right, wrong, and don't hold back there, Joe William.
You're talking about one of my favourite fighters of all time there, Joe. British fighters of all time, I should say.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's while we're on subject, there's also the rumour about Ben Senior, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
And
Yeah, never proven though, Daz.
No,
Never
no.
proven.
Listen. I'm not saying it were, but there's massive rumours that Ben Senior was on something v McClellan.
I mean,
Is
he
it
doesn't help with the
sorry
people. He
state
doesn't
of
help with the
affairs,
people he was
isn't it?
hanging around with at the time, though. Daz, to be fair.
No, exactly, mate. Exactly. But
Uh,
note's been proven. So
No, it's been proven. No, was ever proven. He never, it is what it is. And the Ben situation, unfortunately, I don't like it. Lee don't like it. Joe don't like it. I know you two don't. And most of the boxing public won't like it. But it is what it is. And eventually, we'll get his license back and move on. And then it's just a case of, do we watch him or don't we watch him? Do we watch the cards he's on?
yeah,
And accept it, or don't we?
If he fights Eubank, I'll be watching it.
Yeah, I didn't watch last night. I didn't watch his fight yesterday. Just didn't want to. There's no interest in it. Because to be fair, the main thing I didn't want that I had no interest in was hearing him talk afterwards, calling all and sundry out, saying, I want this, I want this, I want you, I want you. Because I just think, well, put a little bit more effort into proving your innocence than, as much effort into proving your innocence as you're spouting off. Yeah. Calling retired fighters out. You know what I mean? It just... Listen, I was a big fan of Ben Jr., but I'm just, a little bit turned off by him at the minute.
It does make you wonder, like I say, what the state boxing's in at the minute. If it's not the judges, it's the fighters with alleged taking of drugs. I did say alleged.
Listen, mate, I've there's been something. I'm not going to name any names. Andy can discuss it with you off live and off camera. But I was informed that one of my fighters' opponents could have put that could have been on performance enhancers. I found that out the other day. Andy was there, weren't you, Andy? You know what I mean? So it's like, and even though they didn't win the fight, it was you sort of look and think, you can sort of see how it could be possible, maybe.
Yeah.
But I weren't entirely happy with it, but it is what it is.
Lee and Joe in the sidebar. I don't know whether you heard any of the earlier stuff, but we've already discussed what we think should happen with Joe Joyce going forward. If you want to give us your opinions on them, and also the Ryan McCaskill fiasco and your opinions on that. If you want to drop them in the sidebar, we'll read them out. Just want to pick up a couple of fights on the BT card, lads, if we can. Starting with Zach Parker. First time out in quite some time, and I was a little bit shocked when he had his post fight and said he come very close to retiring.
Sorry, Lee, it's a no from me.
Lee's on the wind up there, Carl. Lee's on the wind up there.
I'm just
pay per view as well, Lee. Pay per view.
I'm just slipping to Lou because I've not watched Zach Parker, so
yeah. Leave your phone there, mate. Leave your phone there.
It's laptop, mate. I'm not taking it. Don't worry.
Close the door, Daz.
There we go. I think that's the best way of doing it. Yeah, so it would have been a long way back for Zach Parker after that fight, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because against John Ryder, I'm talking about, because obviously there's a lot on the line, wasn't there? So I'm not surprised you had to go away and do a bit of soul searching. It was a bad injury as well, it looked like, but taking it all into account, I thought he did okay last night. He probably did what we expected him to do. No more, no less, was my opinion. Yeah.
So Lee in the side part has put. I interviewed Zach Parker last night, and he was quite emotional.
He's probably been a long way back, Lee. Probably been a long way back.
Yeah. He seemed very emotional because, like I said, he actually said that he was contemplating retirement, and that's a dark place to go for a fighter, isn't it? To be able to come back from that takes quite a bit of self-belief, and you got to have the right people around you. I mean, I thought Zach Parker looked really good. I thought he boxed really well. A little bit tentative in the first couple of rounds, but that's to be expected. Obviously, he's probably still got his hand injury in the back of his mind, thinking, is it going to hold up? Have I still got it? Am I still fresh enough? But by round 3 and round 4, I thought he got into his stride and he was back to boxing off the back foot like he does. Clearly still sharp and powerful. Interesting, isn't it, that he is contemplating moving up weight as well, Carl?
Yeah, Lee just put him versus Yard as a decent fight. If he's talking about moving up, that'll be an easy one to make as well, won't it?
I think it'll happen. I think it'll happen as well. I think it'll happen.
Well,
Because let's have it right.
He's a big lad, isn't
he? Yeah, he is. What does he actually have left at super middle either? Who's he actually got to fight? Because he's not going to get anywhere near Canelo anytime soon.
No, it's not a great division, is it? So Joe says, no idea what you do with Joyce, to be honest, and I'm not shocked with the Ryan robbery. We do it over here all the time.
Yeah, there's lots of it going on, and it all needs to change. We said it earlier on, but I've gone off on a rant today because what's the incentive for these fighters actually going into unifications? What's the incentive for them going into undisputed fights when they come away having performed like that and then they don't get the win and it's down as a draw on record? It's just disgraceful. It's disgraceful. So what's the incentive for her to do that again? Why don't she just go, I tell you what, just get me someone in the top 10. I'll fight them for the rest of my career.
What really grates on me is it's not like they're playing football, is it? They're putting their lives on the line.
Yeah.
So all we expect is a bit of transparency from the judges, and a clean sport. Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, but I know you and I've gone off and said I think that judge has got a big pocket full of cash, because I'm sure it goes on. Tongue in cheek a little bit, but I'm really mad, mate. And I know you two don't think it's that. You think it's incompetence, and that's probably what it is, really, in reality. But if he's that bad, if that judge, all three of them really have got really poor scorecards. But the one that gave it widely to McCaskill and the one that called it a draw, they shouldn't.
The trouble you've got is both sides of the pond, and this might stop me ever getting it, but I don't believe they do interviews anyway, so why am I bothered? Is that it's normally a bit of a old boy and girls club, isn't it? They've got this inner circle where there's a small collection of them, isn't there, who go out and do it week in, week out, never accountable.
Judges on about.
Yeah, the judges. And it's almost like they're untouchable. They're untouchable because it doesn't matter how they perform because they're in the clique. That's how it feels to me. There's no accountability, and that's what really frustrates me.
That is the case. That is the case, Carl. There ain't any accountability. You've got these A-star referees in the UK. You've probably got a similar sort of thing in other countries around the world. No other judges. We've spoken to an old British Boxing Board control referee, haven't we? And he's giving his very honest opinion about.
And it's all coming home to roost, isn't it, Andy? It's all coming true what he said.
Everything he said. It was very straight about the British Boxing Board and how they go about the business.
And that must have been 18 months ago, if not 2 years.
It's not 2 years ago. And that was, he basically said it's a closed book. You can't get in there as a referee. They're all pals. And if that's how comfortable it is, and there's no accountability, what's stopping them being at the best all the time and learning and improving and becoming the best and staying the best?
It needs regulating. It needs regulating because the amount of money that's floating around in this game and the very little regulation there is, that's why you've got certain practices happening. Let's be honest. It's a very fragmented in terms of commissions and British Boxing Board of Control and everything like that. No one's overviewing them. It's just, very difficult.
I'll say it again, mate. I'll say it again. If there's not an independent body put together to assess refereeing and assess judging, this sport's going to die. Because
I'd argue it's still like turkeys voting for Christmas. Because
maybe.
You've had it that long.
Yeah, I know that, but that don't mean it can't change just because it's been that long, and just because there's been dodgy judging decisions since year dot. That don't make it right. That don't mean we should keep it the way it is. Because the thing is, people are turning away from the sport, mate. Boxing doesn't have the glitz and glamour that it used to have. You know.
See, I'm not sure.
Even
Pay per view numbers are up, though, Andy. Pay per view numbers are up.
Cole,
stadium numbers are up in America, is what they're telling me.
Even the crowd, though, on Saturday night in that arena in Orlando were booing McCaskill. Were booing the result because they're not stupid. Fans aren't stupid. But so what? Okay, say there was 20,000 fans in that arena. I don't think there was, but however many there was in there. What's to say that 10,000 of them aren't going to go? I'm not coming to this shit again. I paid all that money, and to see someone perform like that and then get robbed. I'm never coming to a boxing match again in my life.
But it don't look that way, does it, by all the stats?
But clearly, mate, boxing in America is not a priority sport anymore. And it used to be. It used to be, especially heavyweights. It used to be really, really a big deal in America. It's not anymore,
but
mate.
that's more because they've had a shit stable of heavyweights, haven't they, for a while? Let's be honest.
Yeah, but there's not been shit. There's not shit other divisions, is there?
Yeah, but they won't fight each other.
Well, that obviously doesn't help the situation. But the fact that you're not getting clarity and the fact that you're getting really bad decisions when a fighter goes out and performs like that.
Joe, what are you doing in bingo halls?
It wasn't the biggest arena, was it, Joe? But by the by, you know, it's what, number 5 or number 6 watch sport in America. It tells you where boxing is. And
yeah, but it's never been top of the tree. It's never been top of the tree in America, has it? The likes of the NBA and that have always been bigger.
You can say the same over here, though, Cole. Yeah, the massive events sell out. But how many shows have we been to, Cole, where we've gone, oh my God, it's half empty?
Yeah. but that would have been like that generations ago at that level. So it's always ever been the big fights itself.
I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure. You go back to the 80s. I mean, Daz might have a better opinion of this. Were you getting full asses all the time in the 80s and 90s, Daz?
Mate, how old do you think I am?
No, I know, but you're a better.
Yeah. You know, in 1965, Dad, when Henry Cooper fought.
You're younger than me, Daz, but all I'm saying, mate, is you've got a better boxing knowledge than I have when it comes down to.
Well, to be fair, mate. To be fair, got dragged to a lot of boxing shows when I was younger. And when as a reference point, you watch them on telly, ITV Fight Night. Remember them? You never saw no spare seats in them.
No,
you small all shows, mate.
Daz, there is a few arguments here, isn't there? When you talk about venues, a lot of them were leisure centres, weren't they? Which weren't the biggest.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, but you've also got you small all shows, which a few lads from my hometown when I were in Nipper, they were pros. They boxed on. I got dragged to some of them, and they were packed out, mate. I remember 12, 13-year-old going to boxing shows, and but small all, but they were packed, mate. They were absolutely rammed.
It is difficult to compare the two, though, isn't it? Because they're very different worlds, aren't they?
Yeah. Do you know what, mate? As well, I think it's like your tickets were more readily available as well. I mean, you sort of get people buying tickets just to sell them, for a little bit more profit. Back then it were like you bought tickets off the fighters and that were that. Especially for small all. Especially for small all, but you see people now, if they're in an high-profile fight, have probably got someone selling tickets for them, and people are still buying tickets, like buying a couple of ringsides for a big fight. Let's say, for instance, Lee Wood's got someone who deals with his tickets. So
Yeah, his auntie Sue.
Yeah, so someone says, "Oh, I want 4 ringsides." Let's say ringsides are 300 each. So 1,200 quid. He then puts on. I've got ringside seats for Lee Wood v Josh Warrington, 400 quid each, or 350 quid each. Do you know what I mean? I mean that is going to work sometimes, but also sometimes it's not. You know, I mean, I wouldn't pay over for any fight. Listen, there's only one fighter in history, and obviously it was before my time. So who I probably would have paid to see fight live, and that's Roberto Duran. I'm not paying for anybody over value or what them tickets are sold at. You know, I might do it, you know, for a certain fight, I suppose, that involves 2. I mean, I'll probably pay a bit over for a Joshua Fury or something, Usyk Fury or something, but it's very rare, mate. Very rare, but but that's a good point, mate. The venues as well. The venues have got bigger, but also the cards have got worse. They're less stacked. I mean, I remember when you'd have like 4 world title fights on a card.
But again, Dad, just playing devil's advocate, you've got a lot more channels now, a lot more promoters, and a lot more broadcasters. So I just feel like it's spread out a little bit more, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but you know, them days where you had, you had like 2 world title fights, 2 British title fights, and a European title fight on a card.
Did you used to go down to the cinema and watch the American fights?
No,
I'm only joking.
My cousin, mate. I remember sitting at my uncle's because my cousin used to box and that used to do a bit. My uncle was God bless him, Uncle Roy. He's not here now. He was a boxer in army. I think he was in RAF or something. My Uncle Roy. He was like he's champion at services. He got me into it as well.
It's just that Frank Warren talks about going down to his local cinema.
No, mate,
I'm only on the wind up.
No, they had a great big. They lived in Dinnington, and they had a great big satellite dish in backyard. So they had a little bit of money, but they had seriously, they had a satellite dish in backyard that rotated around, so it picked up all sorts. And
sounds like some off only fools and horses.
Yeah, and mate, they had. I remember him lead up to Tyson v Buster Douglas, and my Uncle Roy were actually saying Buster Douglas beats Mike Tyson tonight. He says he beats him, and I went, "No, don't be. I'm only young. What?
God, 14, I bet he wish went to the bookies on that one."
He did, mate, and he said, "Listen, you've now got Buster." His theory was you've now got Buster Douglas motivated. He says, I've watched Buster Douglas. He's got a fantastic jab. That's going to cause Tyson problems, and plus his mum's died, and he's got an extra. He's going to find an extra 2 levels, and he also said that Tyson wasn't training right and stuff. He says combined with all them, Buster Douglas wins this, and you were right.
Very good. Right, Andy, is there anything else you want to bring up before we bring the show to a close?
Yeah, McCaskill. Be true to your word. What you said in the ring after the fight.
I'm sure she's watching.
You never know, mate. Be true to your word and have that rematch. Make that rematch happen because it's the only right thing to do.
Daz, anything from you before we bring the show to a close?
No, that's it, mate. That's it.
Okay. So this has been Last World Boxings with LW Liftings. Live again on Thursday, 7 p.m. We'll tweet out what the agenda will be before the show. Thank you for all the comments in the sidebar. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone who's contributed. And we'll see you Thursday at 7. Adios.